Hi there, my name's Carrie, Sales Manager for Billionaires and Boxers in North America. Today I'll be presenting BIB's DoneForYou Monetized Podcasting. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering today. So you can see on the screen here, this is actually our fearless leader and purveyor of extensive podcast wisdom, Phil Palucha. Really a great person to work for and with. As you can see, not only is he ranked globally as a top 100 podcaster, he's also a talented speaker who's been a keynote speaker at events all over the world. Definitely the driving force behind Billionaires and Boxers' mission. Our core offering, the DoneForYou service that we'll be exploring today, is based on the podcast monetization blueprint that Phil developed over the last decade to fuel the growth of his previous business ventures. Luckily, you get the benefits of a finished product without having to suffer through all the missteps and challenges he encountered in perfecting the concept. One of the things I love about working with Phil is that he's very clearly passionate about what he does. He has a knack for somehow transitioning any conversation about any topic whatsoever into a discussion about podcasts and how to use them in business. You'll actually get to experience this firsthand. While I consider this to be a scarce resource that will definitely not be available too far into the future, we happen to be partnering at the right time, as the DoneForYou podcasting solution actually includes one-on-one strategy sessions with Phil twice each month. One of our goals with this solution is to add as much value as possible for our clients, and these strategy sessions definitely deliver on that. At a certain point in the not-too-distant future, as our client base continues to expand, it simply won't be possible for Phil to personally handle all strategy calls with every BIB client. We've been careful to build scalability into all aspects of our business, but it turns out it's rather difficult to scale a person. Luckily, we're talking now as opposed to 6 months from now, so you'll still be able to claim some of Phil's time, starting from day one with your onboarding call. Right from the word go, Phil and the rest of the team go to work for you, crafting a roadmap for your podcast that fits your unique situation and needs, based on your specific business and personal goals. And if your goals or situation somehow change down the road, which we see all the time, Phil and the team are very capable of adjusting your strategy and changing course as needed. Given the changing landscape of business these days, a successful business and a success-fueling solution such as ours all need to have the ability to quickly pivot and adapt. Sometimes just to survive, and at other times to thrive. The ability to use challenges such as changes in your market as opportunities, while helping to position your business to not just weather the storm, but actually prosper during the economic crises that cripple others, are qualities built into our solutions and embodied by Phil and the entire BIB team. Naturally, we've woven these strengths into our Podcasting for Business blueprint at the core of our DoneForYou podcasting solutions and mentorship program. Before we start our discussion of the DoneForYou's podcasting solution, I want to spend a couple minutes here and explain an incentive that we offer and what's behind it. As a company, if you're looking to increase the rate at which you bring on clients, you'd like to create a win-win way of incentivizing those potential clients. New clients get a lower price for the same solution, saving thousands of dollars per year, and we as a company get a new client to work with. In this industry, simply having a sale doesn't typically work, and this type of tactic can actually have a negative impact on a solution's market value and its provider's profit margin. Discounting prices for no other reason than hoping more people will buy is a flawed approach, and in most cases, it fails to increase the number of sales enough to balance out the lowered pricing, leading to a few temporarily happy new clients, but a company with profit margins so slim they're unable to maintain the increased client load. With a company like BIB, who conducts a majority of our business via online meetings and phone calls, if we dig into the data, we will always find that our profit margins and overall success are heavily impacted by the number of times a client is contacted before we earn their business. When you consider a team full of consultants making calls 5 days a week, times 50 weeks in a year, a presentation with 3 or 4 follow-up calls versus a presentation with only a single follow-up call, the difference quickly adds up to a massive amount of time. If we can reduce the average sales cycle to a presentation and 1 to 2 follow-ups only, we can nearly cut the average call time required to partner with a new client in half. This gives us, as a company, significantly more time for things like ongoing training and, of course, bringing on additional new clients. What we've implemented to accomplish this at BIB is an incentive program, which streamlines the process for both you and us while making the decision to move forward a lot easier financially speaking. So without going into all the details, if you and the team are impressed with the DoneForYou solution, and you feel that it'll provide you the platform you need to accomplish your goals, we'd like to extend to you significantly incentivized pricing, which will be valid for 24 hours after the initial presentation meeting was held. Originally founded upon a single podcast, Billionaires and Boxers has grown into a versatile global broadcast media company focused on entrepreneurial empowerment. With core product offerings including DoneForYou monetized podcasting, DoneForYou influencer booking, and the Monetized podcast mentorship program, BIB shows its diversity by carrying that same message of entrepreneurial empowerment to over 30 million TV screens across Africa, as well as areas where there is traditionally no access to such information by bringing together the world's best mentors, teachers, and leaders for live speaker events across the African continent. In other words, we're a bunch of crazy podcasters and entrepreneurs that have learned a thing or two along the way, and now we enjoy empowering entrepreneurs from around the world by granting access to our vast global network of influencers, providing our Podcasting for Business blueprint, which took 10 years of experimenting, missteps, and small wins in order to arrive at what we call the cheat codes for business, as well as unmatched DoneForYou monetized podcast and influencer booking services, where our blueprint comes alive to fuel your business and build your brand. In addition to an adaptable team and flexible solutions, when you partner with BIB, you're also gaining access to the BIB Global Network and the many benefits that come with joining a network of influencers who share our mission of empowering 1 billion entrepreneurs. This may seem like quite an unattainable goal. However, our network includes many very influential people, such as heads of nations and the writers and teachers from The Secret books and movie, who we actually have an exclusive arrangement with. They have already empowered 500 million people with their teachings and message, which puts the BIB network at more than halfway towards its goal. Oh, and it just so happens that they're all podcasters like us. If you have an idea you'd like to pursue, a challenge you're not sure how to overcome, an industry player you need to connect with in order to bring your brand to the next level, or a project packed with potential but maybe it's missing a key piece, the chances are we can connect you with the right person. With the BIB network, potential connections and the opportunities that can follow make access to the BIB network a priceless resource for any entrepreneur. Just for some added credibility, these are some stats that we're proud of. We're still a very young company, and we've only been officially offering our DoneForYou podcasting solutions since around the time COVID-19 hit. But between our DoneForYou and mentorship program, our clients across 50 plus sectors and locations have seen between $8 and $10 million in revenue increases. This is actually a very significant number when you consider that we've been in the midst of an increasingly severe economic downturn. While businesses have been struggling all around us, we noticed that our clients were doing very well. We're seeing positive return on investments across the board with both mentorship and DoneForYou clients, and we're proud to have seen clients recognized on the Forbes lists 4 years running. I did mention earlier BIB's entrepreneurial TV programming reaching over 30 million screens across Africa, as well as our 7-event empowerment speaker series. That was actually set for 2020, but it's looking like COVID will push us into 2021. We do have a growing global reach with clientele and a director or manager level member of the BIB team based in 5 of the 7 continents. The BIB network we just looked at a moment ago benefits greatly from our global focus, giving us an increasingly diverse and growing resource to tap into, including 7 heads of nations, 20 plus best-selling authors and mentors, many other people of influence, who all happen to be podcasters. You'll notice that everyone we work with on the BIB team has a relatively humble yet confident attitude towards all of our work. We aren't known to brag, as our clients tend to be our most outspoken fans. But when you stop and consider the accomplishments from the previous slide, our success rate being just a single client short of the 100% mark, as well as the growing list of awards and recognition our partners and clients have received since coming on board with the BIB, it becomes easy to see why we're becoming increasingly confident in suggesting our podcasting solutions. We simply know the kind of results which can confidently be expected with our solutions based on what each client's unique needs are, what your goals happen to be, and what type of scenario you're in. At this point, whether it be a mentorship program graduate, a DoneForYou podcasting host, or a guest booking client, every single client and entrepreneur leveraging our Monetized podcast blueprint has seen success in terms of targeting and obtaining new high-value clients, increasing revenue, or making progress towards obtaining influencer status within their industry or niche. At 10 to 20 clients, that would be a pretty impressive claim to make. But at 50 plus across many business verticals, I find that to be an astounding fact, and I certainly hope that you're starting to grow increasingly confident in the overall concept yourself. You may be aware by now, and even if you aren't, it likely still played some sort of role in us having this conversation today. But podcasting, and specifically podcasting for business, is trending very strongly as of recently, and has opened up an entirely new niche in the marketing world, which is giving business leaders a new channel by which to reach their audience in a format that is more appealing to both the business and their target audience. With more and more business leaders launching podcasts aimed at promoting their company, products, personal expertise, etc., the snowball effect is starting to take effect, with the increased number of business podcasts naturally creating increases in familiarity and number of listeners. And who is likely to be tuning into a podcast hosted by the CEO of a venture capital firm, for example? Quite likely that podcast listener base will include several other leaders from the same industry, and we're seeing more and more that many business leaders are noticing the potential this opportunity provides and aren't hesitating to jump on board and attempt to claim their slice of the growing listener base. This slide shows data taken in early 2020, before the podcast rush started, after the first wave of COVID. With a steadily growing, and as of recent years, sharper trending pattern of growth, podcast familiarity and the number of listeners were both in the range of a very significant 200 million people as of early 2020. So we know the audience is out there and it's growing. Beyond that, in just March through June alone of this year, we saw over 200,000 new podcasts launched. So beyond the simple fact that more and more employees, entrepreneurs, and their potential customers are working from or at least spending significantly more time at home, why is it that podcast advertising revenues are clearly trending upwards? Why is this such an attractive form of marketing for both business and listener? The answer to this question is personal connection. Looking at traditional marketing, print, email campaigns, SEO, PPC, and even social media, there's often a lack of personal connection, and beyond that, even in campaigns that have the most impact, the length of that connection is always very short-lived. These marketing challenges are both solved by podcasting, which provides an extended, much more personal connection between the listener, host, and ultimately the host's company. This creates the perfect platform to connect with potential clients and position yourself as an influencer at the same time. Timing is always extremely important when it comes to investments, and we know the strongest indicator of the proper time to invest is found in watching the trends. All signs are pointing to buy currently, and we have the results to verify this is a sound marketing investment for nearly any business of any size. Being hesitant to pull the trigger on launching your podcast, maybe waiting a month or 2 or 6 to do more research, finish up some current or upcoming projects, weigh your options, etc., only increases the difficulty and the length of time that it will require to build up your listener base, as you'll have to wrestle with the competitors who got involved before you to win back a listener base that could be yours much easier and much quicker today. Let's start looking at what's typically most important in terms of why you're viewing this presentation, your specific business goals. If you happen to be watching this presentation in preparation for an upcoming meeting with myself or somebody else from the BIB team, please don't forget to email us a list of your general business goals, whether you believe they're podcast related or not. That will definitely help our meeting be much more productive. Then we can explore how our DoneForYou podcasting solution can be leveraged to help get you there. What we're seeing in most scenarios is that an entrepreneur's goals within the context of podcasting can usually be defined in one of three ways. You're typically seeking to increase your number of high-value clients, position yourself as a trusted authority with influencer status within your industry or niche, or you're looking to accomplish a little of both. And the reality is that these goals, to a certain extent, go hand in hand. And by that I mean, if we're structuring your podcast around interviewing high-value clients in order to build a foundation of trust and rapport with them, which makes the sales process so much easier and enjoyable for both parties, then you're naturally going to become more well-known within your industry as the business leader with the podcast and all the highest value clients in his or her book of business. And on the flip side, if we structure your podcast around interviewing and being interviewed by the men and women who have already gained influencer status within your niche, you're not only going to gradually become a trusted voice that people look to for answers, advice, and guidance, but you'll also naturally start seeing an increase in the number of people who want to do business with you because of that reputation. And if we set out to accomplish both new clientele and influencer status, it becomes a matter of strategically splitting your podcast booking between interviews with industry influencers and conversations with your high-valued potential clients, your dream clients, so to speak. So I can assure you that whether your goals are new high-value clients, positioning yourself as an influencer, or both, you're in the right place to make that happen. There are a ton of businesses out there that are really good at what they do, but they suffer from not having enough people that know, like, and trust them. Our team is extremely skilled at positioning our clients where they need to be in order to change that. Nobody wants to be the best kept secret in business, right? More and more businesses are realizing that now is the time to get on board with this concept before the markets become overly saturated. And while this is absolutely true, it's important to have the correct perspective when it comes to seemingly saturated and crowded markets. While a particular market may appear too crowded to enter as far as the number of competing podcasts are concerned, this is often a broken paradigm. The truth of the matter is that 80% of podcasts fail to turn a profit. So we've already eliminated 4/5 of your competition before the race even starts. This huge failure rate stems not from overcrowded markets as many would assume, but actually from the multitude of potential mistakes and missteps that inexperienced podcasters tend to make in their attempts to podcast, and even more so when trying to monetize those efforts. As you can see, there is no shortage of mistakes to avoid, and many of them are a matter of having an accurate perspective, which only comes with proper mentoring and time. In terms of competition, many budding podcasters are too easily overwhelmed by the number of competitors in their given space, an inaccurate perspective which can easily paralyze a podcast very early on. The proper perspective and truth of the matter is that discovering you may have, say, 50 podcasts competing in your space doesn't mean that you won't be able to gain your share of the audience. Quite the opposite is true. Those 50 competing podcasts are a good sign. You already know that 4/5 of them are not going to turn a profit and probably die off. But the high number of competing podcasts also indicates that there's definitely an audience in your market trying to be captured. Whether the goal is new high-value clientele, gaining influencer status in your industry, or both, one of the most damaging mistakes which many podcasters make is mishandling the selection of their guests and their appearances. This can be the result of poor planning, not vetting podcasts before appearances, or simply not having the network and connections necessary to gain access to and connect with the right people. This is why we put an early emphasis on putting some serious thought into your top 100 list starting today. And this will carry over all the way into your onboarding meeting and beyond. Overall, the reality is that a vast majority of podcasters simply do not have the experience or expertise required to successfully podcast, let alone the additional skills and resources needed to properly monetize a podcast. BIB's team does. In fact, no other company in the world has proven themselves capable of matching our DoneForYou podcasting solutions, which are built according to the blueprint proven to be successful in every one of the 50-plus industries we've partnered with. Podcasting solutions designed to attract and win the highest value clients while positioning yourself as an influencer and trusted authority within your industry is what we do. BIB provides you with a truly done-for-you solution that will consistently produce results while requiring very little time and effort on your part. While it is difficult to put a positive spin on COVID-19, it did trigger the remote working revolution, which we're just starting to experience. Much like this transition away from the traditional office setting, podcasting for business isn't just a temporary trend or a fad either. It's a fresh, forward-thinking approach to business development, marketing, building your corporate or personal brand, and it makes a ton of sense from every angle. I mentioned that 80% of podcasts do not produce a single dollar in profit. And while a 1 in 5 chance of seeing a profit might seem like a scary reality, here's a stat that should be much more encouraging for you. When following our process, 100% of BIB's DoneForYou podcasting clients have successfully monetized their podcasting efforts, which is obviously significantly higher than the 20% average that we'll see elsewhere. We've proven this concept by bringing it to clients from across more than 50 industries, and there has literally been only one instance where it didn't produce the desired results, and that wasn't due to our service falling short or our team failing. It was due to that client simply not showing up for his podcasts. It turns out to be rather difficult to monetize a podcast if you don't have a podcast to monetize. We actually refunded the client, and he in turn referred several people to us who became clients themselves. So again, I mean it when I say that you're in the right place to accomplish your goals. We're able to literally take the blueprint that our CEO Phil developed over the last decade, which we refer to as the cheat codes for business because it allows us to skip right over all the missteps in order to successfully use podcasting to build his brand and fuel his pipeline with the highest value clients. That's what fuels BIB these days. Our desire to empower entrepreneurs with the tools to accomplish their own successes, and the best way we know how to do that is leveraging the conversations and reach that only podcasting can provide. When Phil set out to share with the world exactly how he was able to build up and successfully exit several business ventures using this exact concept, he initially developed a podcasting mentorship program. An amazing program, and it's still alive and thriving today, but we started to get more and more mentorship clients who wanted more high-value clients, or they were seeking influencer status within their industry, and they thought our concept and blueprint made a ton of sense. But they faced one of the most common challenges when it comes to growing a business or building your brand. They simply didn't have enough time. Building, managing, and monetizing a podcast takes significant time, even for an expert team with decades of experience under their belt. So you can imagine how difficult it would be to implement a properly monetized podcast for a business that has no experience to rely on. Our mentorship clients started coming to Phil and asking him to do it for them. When the first wave of COVID forced most everyone to take a break and readjust our perspectives, it was the combination of those requests and watching so many businesses fall victim to the pandemic that really shined a bright light on an unaddressed need in the marketing world, a solution that could not only disaster-proof your business, but position you to thrive while economic downturn causes your competition to dive. This situation helped us decide where we should position BIB in the market and gave birth to our main service offering, the DoneForYou Monetized podcast. First and foremost, the most important aspect of the DoneForYou solution, and really the key ingredient in any successful broadcast media solution, is the people involved, both the team delivering the solution and the clients who use the service. So on our side of that relationship, BIB has put together an amazing global team of experienced podcasters, broadcast media pros, business consultants, digital marketing experts, and production assistants who all share a passion for empowering businesses and entrepreneurs with BIB's DoneForYou services. And we truly deliver a DoneForYou solution. Starting with these conversations where we begin getting on the same page, so to speak, by helping to define your overall business and podcast-related goals, developing a unique strategy to get you where you want to go, handling all of your guest bookings and scheduling, editing your podcast recordings to produce polished content for you and your listeners, and even important details like putting together a media pack for every episode, which includes clips for your social media blasts, sound bites, a monthly poster featuring your podcast appearances, from each episode. We really only leave you with two main responsibilities. First being your one-on-one sessions with our CEO Phil, where you'll work together to develop and implement the strategy which best fits your goals and unique situation. The only other true responsibility we leave in your hands is showing up for your podcast, which usually takes 2 to 3 hours per week. Everything else is literally done for you by BIB. So I'm sure you have an idea of what your ideal customer profile looks like, and going after those clients is always beneficial. But here's a more difficult question that we'd really like you to start thinking about. Who would you consider to be a dream client? Maybe that big account you've always wanted but never went after. Someone you just can't reach unless a few doors are opened for you. Maybe it's that big name nonprofit org that a business relationship with would really boost your company's image. One of the main things our team will be working with you to create is your top 100 list. This typically consists of people, businesses, organizations, causes, etc. that you would consider to be your dream clients. The possibilities are endless here, but I really want to challenge you to think outside of the box and beyond the normal scope of clients that you've typically worked with. If you put some creativity and effort into it, your top 100 list can and should be one of the driving factors in a successful podcasting strategy. This is where the BIB network enters the picture. We've developed a vast global network over the years, including the heads of 7 nations, the world's most trusted authorities in personal and professional development, public speaking, business mentorship, the writers and producers of The Secret books and movie, as well as many other people of influence and successful entrepreneurs from around the world. Tapping into this network allows us to book the right guests and the right appearances on the right podcast at the right time, based on your unique strategy, which we'll create together with our CEO, Phil. Similar to the YouTube sensations of a decade ago, which gave the talented but broke, the budding entrepreneur, and the totally unknown a low-risk, high-reward route of entry and a platform on which they could build their brand and promote themselves, podcasting for business is removing several long-standing barriers to entry for small to medium-sized businesses, solo operations, and many other cash-strapped businesses, and this is happening on a global level. But it isn't just new clients and increased revenue that savvy business leaders are chasing after. A properly engineered podcast can pave the way for an industry expert with only a marginal following to become a trusted authority with something even more valuable than revenue, influencer status. So who would you say some of the current influencers and leaders are within your industry or niche? This is a really important question to consider. With any industry out there, you're going to see somewhat tiered levels of influence. And that's how it should be with you becoming an influencer as well. If you're learning to play basketball, you don't play your first one-on-one game against Michael Jordan. The same concept applies to both accessing your industry's influencers and positioning yourself as an influencer. So what our team will be doing, and we've seen a lot of success with this tiered approach, is helping you to compile a list of the top 50 to 100 people of influence within your industry, including business leaders, entrepreneurs, and relevant podcasters. As soon as we have even just part of your top 100 list, we begin tapping into the BIB Global Network to start booking these people of influence for conversations on your podcast and booking you as a guest on other. Not only do we take a tiered approach to this, which is absolutely necessary in order for your podcast to build up momentum and for you to gradually build up your personal brand and level of influence, but we avoid one of the many common scheduling that can scar the reputation of an inexperienced podcaster by properly vetting all podcasts, hosts, and your guests before booking. We get the ball rolling quickly towards achieving your goals, but much like we see in professional sports, you don't start out day one on the main stage or in the big leagues. You have to work your way up the ladder, defining and refining your message and skills along the way so that once the right doors are opened for you, you know precisely what you want to say, and beyond that, what you plan to do with that platform and influencer status once you arrive. Let's say 6 to 9 months from now, you find yourself maybe not at quite that level, but definitely approaching it, and in a position where people are looking to you as an example, a trendsetter, so to speak. How do you see yourself using that platform? It's always important to not simply aim to become influential, but to have a plan as to what you want to accomplish with your increased influence. And that's really one of the great aspects of our tiered approach. You'll have time to really develop and refine your message and your specific goals as you gradually gain more and more of a following. One of the most important aspects of any investment is, of course, timing. Not only are you stepping into this well before the market becomes oversaturated with podcasts, meaning you can claim a healthy-sized slice of the listener base and influence still up for grabs within your niche before your competition does, but you're also entering at a time that positions you to thrive while the markets dive. We're in the midst of a severe economic downturn brought on by COVID-19, and we've seen business after business struggle and fail in 2020. Like I mentioned earlier, it's difficult to put a positive spin on the pandemic, but it did serve as a catalyst for BIB developing our DoneForYou service. Phil was noticing that not only was BIB thriving throughout the first wave of the virus, but all of his mentorship clients who had actually implemented the concept were thriving as well. Several of them actually doubling or tripling in size, with others winning awards and appearing on Forbes 100 lists. He knew that now was the time to make this idea a reality and provide a virtually plug-and-play solution that helps you accomplish your goals and grow your business even from the comfort of your own home. Just as Phil and the team took action at the perfect time by launching the DoneForYou solutions, now is the perfect time for you to take action as well. The key to any good investment is understanding the timing and trends at play, and currently, all signs point towards podcast. So at this point, if I've done my job, then I'd like to think that you have a good idea of how the BIB team will be able to leverage our 10,000 plus hours of podcasting experience, proven strategies, vast global network, and overall passion for empowering entrepreneurs in order to help fuel your growth and build your brand. So let's take a look at a general timeline of what the BIB team will be delivering and doing behind the scenes for you every month. This timeline gets rolling right away. Time is a limited and valuable resource, so we do our best to waste none of it. We schedule your onboarding call for just 24 to 72 hours from the time we agree to terms, and this timeline takes effect that first week. Looking at our timeline here, you'll see the step-by-step process the BIB team uses to build, launch, and maintain your podcast. We use a phased approach, and in phase 1, our team will work with you to complete your list of potential guests, your list of business goals, and develop your content strategy. We'll set up the systems for delivery of your podcast and give you access to several great video trainings from Phil in which he shares some useful podcasting tips, tricks, and basics. In phase 2, we begin tapping into the BIB network in order to start booking your upcoming guests as well as your guest appearances on podcasts relevant to your goals. We'll start putting together a list of episode topics and suggested questions, which allows you and your guest or the other host to get on the same page and start building rapport ahead of time. Toward the end of phase 2, we'll have everything in place to create and deliver media packs from your recordings for use in your social media and other marketing efforts. Phase 3 is when you'll begin recording episodes, making guest appearances, and finalizing your guest list for your podcast over the next 3 weeks. In phase 4, we'll put together your guest appearance list for the next 2 weeks, and you'll begin receiving your media pack 2 days after each recording. Speaking of media, every episode of your podcast within the BIB network will actually air twice on Inspire Radio before it goes online. We'll repeat most of phases 2, 3, and 4 every month that you're with us, and this process allows us to provide you with 5 monthly guests from your top 100 list, as well as 5 monthly guest appearances on other related podcasts relevant to accomplishing your unique goals. So far, we've explored multiple podcasting pitfalls and how BIB steers our clients clear of these dangers. But the biggest misstep of all is not taking that first step forward. Hopefully, I've been able to convey how the timing is right for podcasting. Potential clients, the marketers themselves, and nearly everyone else with a pulse are growing increasingly tired of the same stale old forms of marketing that we've seen for decades now. Business leaders, entrepreneurs, and other influencers in nearly every industry across the board are growing less enthused with the downward trending returns produced by run-of-the-mill mass email campaigns, pay-per-click spends, SEO budgets, and social media blasts featuring sleep-worthy, low-value content. We're clearly in the very early stages of much more than a marketing trend. This is more like a marketing game changer. So if the timing is right, and we've established that it is, if you believe a podcast, if properly designed, can be leveraged to accomplish your specific business goals, and I believe we've helped establish that belief, and if you know of an expert team that will do all the heavy lifting for you based on an unmatched podcasting for business blueprint, and I believe we have just introduced you to that team, then the time to move forward is now, before the listener base is entirely claimed by your competitors. If the timing is right, if you have the facts, if you have the team, and you have the absolute best option available, then it's time to take action. The longer we wait to get the ball rolling with this, the smaller your pool of potential listeners becomes, and really, that's just leaving money and influence on the table for no good reason. Occasionally I hit a wall with potential clients who love the concept, but they've convinced themselves with no chance of budging that waiting for some magically improved financial situation before investing in the type of solution needed to create that better financial situation is somehow the right stance to take with their business. I'm sure you can see the flaw in that logic. It makes no sense to wait for a better situation to materialize before investing in your business, even though that type of situation can only be produced by investing in forward-thinking strategic marketing solutions like the BIB DoneForYou podcasting solution. So hopefully you aren't falling into that inactivity trap. Taking no action at all can dig us into the deepest of holes and quickly guarantee that we'll lose the race before it even starts. The bottom line is, we know this is going to be profitable for you in multiple ways, and I hope I've been able to build up some of that confidence in you today as well. So let's avoid that inactivity trap by looking at some next steps to take between now and your onboarding call with Phil. You'll have 2 tasks to complete. The first task involves compiling 3 lists. First will be your top 100 dream clients. The second will be a general list of your goals for both your podcast and your overall business. The goal is for your podcast to help you accomplish your overall business goals. So this list will help us and you design a strategy and a roadmap to get there. The third list will be any questions and or ideas that you and your team come up with between now and your onboarding call. Now the second task, this is the easy one. If you don't already have one, we will need you to purchase a podcast microphone kit. You can find them online for well under $100. In terms of standard pricing, we have 4 pricing options. You can prepay for the first full year, which will offer you the lowest cost. You can prepay for 6 months with a significant discount. You can prepay for the initial 3-month commitment period at a still discounted rate. And in limited situations, we will have clients who paid simply month to month, but keep in mind there is a 3-month commitment period. Whenever we talk about money, I do like to remind clients that we're not in this for just the money, but to truly empower 1 billion people globally. Part of that mission involves giving back some of our profits to African charities. Also, we're still technically a startup venture, which means nearly everyone on our team wears several different hats, covering several different responsibilities. My point being that we need to be extremely careful with how we budget our time. In such a large market, we are getting a significant amount of interest from potential clients, so I'm sure you can imagine how quickly the time adds up between other responsibilities and presentations like this one. So rather than having this meeting, scheduling a follow-up call or 2 or 3 or 4, then potentially a closing call and hoping that we can partner up and then an onboarding call, what we've done is built into our pricing and incentive, streamlines the process for both of us, and really should make this a much easier decision for you financially. And we'll explain more about how the incentive works when we have our live meeting. So this presentation today should have given you a good overview on who Billionaires and Boxers is as a company, how the DoneForYou monetized podcasting solution works, what kind of goals it can help you accomplish, as well as why now is clearly the time to take action and jump on board with the podcasting revolution, claiming your slice of the listener base. So I definitely appreciate the time you took out of your day today to watch this presentation. If you have any comments or questions, any confusion at all regarding the solution or potentially anything else that you believe BIB might be able to help you with, please feel free to email me at Cary, that's C-A-R-Y, at billionairesandboxers.com. And on behalf of the entire BIB team, we thank you for your time and we eagerly await finalizing a partnership and going to work for you.